protection. It's like that. Snap, snap. Well, hello out there in YouTube land. Welcome to La Zizzy Review, where we get down my way. It's my channel. You know how it is. And back. So today on the La Zizzy Review, we're going to be having a weird off-the-wall topic. I don't know how weird it is, but it's weird to some people because I want to talk about the 80s versus now. Or, you know, when we were growing up, if you was growing up in the 80s like, you know, I want to talk about that era versus now era, okay? Let's see how many similarities we could come up with, and let's get it started. First of all, if you was the 80s baby or a 70s baby, for that matter, like me, because I was a baby in the 70s there. I was a little 70s baby, La Zizzy, running around in the 70s, and I was mad cute, okay? I want to talk about the big difference from then and now. I think I've done topics like this before, and I don't know if it was this channel or the other channel or whatever, blah, 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 but I know I have touched on this. I want to do it again, so let's go. When we were growing up in the 70s, the 80s, the early 80s, whatever, we had it real simple. You know, it was a very simplistic era, very simple time with our mothers, our families, our grandparents, you know, the way things were. No technology, zero, if any. I mean, we had electricity, and that was wow, fantastic, right? And although we had phones, we didn't never even imagine the flip phone, you know, like a flip phone you could hold in your hand, like the cell phones of today, right? We could not imagine it. We used to watch a show called Star Trek, okay? And he used to be like, beat me up, Scotty, and all this shit, right? It's like impersonation of the captain of the ship. I know it's not that good, right? He's so like, yes, and you know, and yeah, I stink at it, right? Well, Captain Kirk, he used to have the flip phone, and so did everybody else there. But they had like a flip phone where they could talk to each other. Well, it was like a big gran cosa shit to us. When we used to watch this, and it was like technology, you know, by proxy and shit, because it was all the way up there. It was somewhere else with it. And we never dreamed we'd ever see anything like a cell phone. Or for that matter, Skyping or FaceTime, you know, just talking to somebody on your computer like, hey, how you doing? I'm over here. I mean, you saw that on the Jetsons, okay? On the Jetsons, he had that. He'd be getting fired by space lease from space rockets, and he would always be getting fired on that, you know, flat screen TV thing. And he would be like, you're fired! And, you know, and it was like, wow, imagine if they had something like that where it could just pop up and you could just talk through a screen to your boss or whatever. Now they have that. And I never dreamed as a kid any of that was a possibility. So I'm just telling you this to tell you how very simplistic our time was. It was very, very simple time. And because things were so simple back then, it was easier for us to be innocent, and it was also easier for us to use our noggin, our brains, right? These kids today, to me, they all, on a whole, have some type of autistic type of way about them. Like, a lot of them. You don't see no nervous energy too much with these kids, unless they're like ADD or something. But you don't really see that with these kids. They all like, yeah, well, hello, and yeah, well, math is pretty hard, and yeah, it's great, hi. And it's like, we were not like that. Like, we were all emotional and feeling things and looking around and all. Everything was a big deal. And we see a pattern of this type of behavior with the youth of today. And it's very scary to us because we think that these kids are going to be prepped to be like machines or like the new age robot type child, like non-feeling. I don't know what it's about. It's creepy. It's creeping me the fuck out. I know it has a lot to do with what they've seen on television, but I also believe it has a lot to do with food, environment, you know, what they spitting out magically in the air. I don't know, but the conspiracies just could pile up on themselves. I mean, you can see lots of it here on YouTube yourself. You can look it up. I don't really care too much for looking that stuff up. It just creeps me the fuck out, but I do see a pattern in the way things are going. It's not going very well with these kids. I guess when the world spits out so much technology, right, it leaves these kids very little for them to do for themselves, for their own imagination. We used to draw, we used to read, like we cared about stuff. We used to play. Yeah, you know, it's something weird we did. We call it playing. I mean, in the 80s, we had the jump rope. It was like, you remember that, it's double jumps, with those big ass ropes and shit. And you took them from your mother, and she used them for hanging up the clothesline. And those girls would be like, and it was the black girls. Black girls in my neighborhood. Well, they weren't from my neighborhood, but they would come, some of them from around where they lived, a couple of blocks away, and they would be playing, you know, double touch with you, and they would have bombed. I mean, they were like, and I sucked at it. I mean, one rope, and I was all like, strawberry shortcake cream on top, Tell me the name of your, is it A, B? And you always land it right on the letter of the guy that you had a big ill crush on. And you'd be like, it's D. Oops, it's David. I have a big crush on him. And I actually did have a big crush on this kid named David. And he wound up dying young. Ski accident. Yeah, go figure. Ski accident. Kid living in the ghetto. Well, it was one of those winter retreat, church things. And he was on one of those and broke his neck, whatever. I don't know, but it was a skiing accident. And it's kind of weird because you usually don't hear about a ghetto kid dying in a ski accident. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But next. The kids of our generation, they did things. They played in the big junkyards. And the junkyards were ridiculous. I mean, they were horrible. The whole Bronx was burnt down to a crisp. So it was nothing but junkyards so that I could see. And all you saw was all these junkyards and you played in them. I mean, there was bums living in them. In little shack houses. And you was happy to meet one. You was like, oh, tell me about your story. And he's over here telling you all about how he was in the Vietnam War and blah, blah, blah. And you was very interested, you and your little friends. And kids of my generation, they cared so much. They wanted to know the story of their grandparents. And they wanted to know all this background information of who they were and their family, grandma, titi, and where you come from and what's your real last name. And our grandparents were like, yeah, wait a second, mind your business type. Like, why you asking me these nosy questions? They were like, hey, why you want to know? What you want to know for? And it was like that and shit. Because I want to put a hit out on you, grandma. But whatever. They didn't want to tell you the big top secret of their life. Everything was so hush-hush back then. They didn't really wear makeup. They didn't really curse. They didn't really, they still home. They cook. They clean. They lived the old way, the old-fashioned way. Not too much today. I've seen grandmas my age, older, a little older, but young grandmas are all over the place with their grandchildren. It's like, wow, I never seen nothing like that before in my life, right? Never. I never dreamed it was a possibility where you would see a grandmother that was borderline attractive. I mean, like sexy. Like you could see some sex appeal in her. They were all beautiful to me, but sexy? No. Children today, I don't know. I can't speak on them. I know so many of them, but there's a weirdness about them. I mean, they're constantly with a contraption. Every time you're talking to a kid, he's like, yeah, I'm paying attention. Yeah. He ain't paying attention to you. Stop. He's all up in his contraption. He's texting or whatever they're doing these days. He's Facebooking or whatever. He just took a shit. He threw a fart and he has to tell his friends about it. He has to take a picture of his shit in the toilet and send it to them. Ha ha ha, laughing my motherfucking ass off. Laugh out loud, ha ha, right? Whatever. So now the children of our generation, right? They got a little taste of this technology and we eating it up too. We like, it tastes good, right? It's weird, it's a weird flavor, but we eating it up, right? Our parents are like, hey. Some of them are getting involved and some of them are like totally afraid of it. Like my mom and some of my aunts are like, oh no, they don't want to fuck with it, right? And I tell them, jump into the now because this is what's going on. They're so scared, it creeps out. I remember actually talking to my mother through a computer once, and like she was like, the light turned on and she didn't know what to do with herself. She was all like, she froze, she had stage fright just talking to me through it. It's hilarious. Anyway, whatever. The technology of today, they can't handle it. It's creepy to them, right? It was creepy to us. We jumped into it and, we house now, us and you later. Yes, we are us and you later. Whatever, right? It's creepy, it's scary. I don't want to turn into a robot. I know you don't, but it's kind of weird like that. I mean, before when I first turned on a computer for college, I remember I was like, click, click, click. Now I'm all Ray Charles, like I'm Stevie Wonder like this. I don't even need eyes to be on the computer, but whatever, you just get real nice with that keyboard, right? It's weird, right? It's weird. So children of the 80s, children of the 70s, very different from now. Are we all in agreement with this? Yes, we are. If you're from the 70s, if you're from the 80s, or even from more back, like the 50s or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. You see this. You see this and you're confused by it. I just remember when I was a kid, like I said before, watching Star Trek, they had amazing technology on the ship that if you look at the show today, it's like not even. It's like, oh, it's just so sci-fi bullshit, 1960s. You really could see the holes and everything. But back then it was like so space age. You all like, wow and stuff. And we had those little shows. We had those little, sci-fi shows and we watched them. Some of us were like, some girls, were like, yeah, this is boring, A lot of my friends, they like the old shit. Like, we used to fall asleep, all of us together watching stuff like The Honeymooners and things like that, black and white stuff. We loved it. We adored the R gangs. We found that shit funny. Kids today are like, I don't want to see this. It's in black and white. They can't even handle the real shit. I mean, they want to see just junk and craziness and demons mixed with cartoon characters and weirdness. They're prepping the world for something, and something is not right. We could sense it, we could feel it because we wasn't so brainwashed in our time. And that's the truth. We weren't. We weren't so manipulated by music, media, and food for that matter. Was mostly food. Now it's just processed garbage. I mean, we never had the fat kids that we have today. I mean, right now, I would be considered super duper fat and huge if I was a kid in my time. Just this weight. I mean, because I was just a little bit thick when I was a girl, and I was skinny. I was like a skinny girl today when I was young, and they used to call me Janita. And I had a flat stomach and fat ass and a little small waist. I mean, it was weird, but I was still considered a little Janita because back then, any type of body, you was considered Janita. Everybody was so flat. If you know, you was from then, you know what I'm talking about. Girls were like this. They were skinny. There was no fat kids. And if there was one fat kid on the block, they called him Gordo. He was the fat guy. Everybody's like, hey, the fat kid. The fat kid on the block was the funny kid on the block. That's the way it was. Fucked up, but that's the way it was. The boys of my time were doing backflips and jumping over walls. They were catapulting themselves here and there, and they were dancing like this, and they were break dancing. I mean, they was doing all kinds. Yeah, my break dancing sucks, I know. Forgive, forgive, forgive. They were break dancing. They were doing their thing. They were doing their shit. I mean, the kids of my time, they knew how to play with the Rubik's Cube. They knew how to play chess and checkers. They knew how to run around and play these elaborate games that they had to use their mind and their skills and their body. And their body. Not just their fingers like this. Where today you could be a god and a goddess just using your fingers like this and playing some off-the-wall, very high-tech, video game. Which that's fine and everything, but that's scary too. Because just living life is becoming a thing of the past. Everything is just a big fugazi fake world they're living in, and it's in the computer or in the television. And everybody is just forgetting about the outside world, the real world, us, who we are, nature, right? They're forgetting about it. Kids don't even know what a cow and a monkey and a dog is. I mean, they're just like, what's that? What's that? It's a pelican. Oh, look, a seagull. No, it's a pelican. I mean, they don't know the difference about shit, because they never see nothing. Because everything they see is just what they want to see, the video games. Garbage, right? Whatever. If you're a kid of today, I know it must be hard for you to understand the music was actually written and it actually had, real instruments involved in it. Today, everything is just so shit. It's not even real. It's fake. It's auto-tune. It's beats, and that's it, And it's no real lyrics and nothing. Everything is just written for you. Cookie cutter artists are put out there for you. They're not real. They don't pay their dues. They don't come from nowhere. They just boop, and they're just holograms or whatever. Because I'm pretty sure they might even be holograms. I mean, they don't even look real. So it's like then they're fake, and then there's a lot of plastic surgery, and I've done videos on that. It's a fake world, right? It's Muppets, clowns, no real triple threats out there. Our movies don't have no real substance to it. There's nothing there keeping us intrigued, and a lot of high-tech digital graphics, and it's a lot of crap. Back in my day, they could make a movie about a mother and her daughter talking in the kitchen, and they did. It's called Night Mama. Look it up if you can find it. It's very hard. Sissy Spacek was in it. Well, they could make a movie like that back in the 70s, right? And it's a mother and her daughter talking about how her daughter wanted to commit suicide, and the whole movie is 2 hours long, right? Meanwhile, the whole movie is done in a kitchen and a living room. I mean, they're just talking, and you feeling it. You feeling the sadness, the loss, the misery, the what's going to happen next. I don't want to ruin it for you, but you're there, and you like, oh, man, this is crazy, this is deep. And you sad about it. You feeling it with them. You got into the characters. The characters had something, to offer. Nowadays, the characters are like, they're just blank, The acting isn't worthy of nothing. The 80s versus now kids. What do you think about? You kid from the 80s? You know what I'm talking about? Let me know. I just figured we could, visit with each other. We'd have this conversation. You let me know what you think about it. So just remember, like I always say, click like, click it, click it, click it. And don't forget, rate, comment, and subscribe. You know how much I love you, and you know how much I care. Thanks for watching my show.